guys, welcome to Brian's Man Cave. So today I thought it would be fun to talk about the movie Ghostbusters Afterlife. Obviously I'm a Ghostbusters fan. I've done videos on the movies and stuff, the toys and everything. But I thought, after I saw the movie, I thought this would be kind of a fun video to do, to talk about the 5 things they did right about Ghostbusters Afterlife. Now, sorry for the poor lighting. I mean, this is I'm in my man cave, of course, but I had to take away my light up there that I normally would shine on my other side here because of, well, it's Christmas time and I needed the extension cord for the Christmas lights. So I'm kind of in the dark down here, but that's okay. Anyways, let's get on with the 5 things, because as I was watching the movie, I was kind of taking these mental notes about what I really enjoyed about how they presented the film, how it kind of went, just the little things that they did that were either a nod to the original or just properly doing the job the way it should have been done. Now, obviously, Ghostbusters, we all know, came out in '84, and then there was a sequel, which, it's kind of on the, some people like it, some people don't, should have been done this way, should have been done that way, and of course we had the cartoon, and people wanted a part 3, and the legend has it that Bill Murray didn't want a part 3, or he could never agree to a script that they kept coming up with. There was probably a lot of reasons why he didn't want to continue on. He didn't like the second movie, probably didn't even want it to even happen. A lot of the times it's more of the production companies and all that stuff that have pull. And of course we had the female Ghostbusters, which, lots of people already talked about. I think most people's generally their problem with that wasn't the fact that they were women. I think the problem with that was it wasn't a continuation. It wasn't, in the same universe. It was completely redone, rebooted. The old Ghostbusters don't exist. These are the new Ghostbusters. I think that's where people just didn't like it. As much as they tried to throw the nostalgia in there, they even had some of the original actors in there playing different roles. It just didn't jive with the people who love the original. And so the Afterlife movie kind of does that, and it creates a whole new cast of people for the younger audience to get into. So, the nostalgia trip. Anyways, let's get to the list. So for number 5, I kind of did like a countdown. I don't know if this is exactly the way I want them in order, but I think this is kind of sums it up. So number 5, the director. Now, this was a big thing. Jason Reitman, who actually appeared in Ghostbusters 2 as the little boy who said he thought they were, fraud and all that stuff, the little kid at the birthday party. He's Ivan Reitman's son, and Ivan Reitman was the director of the first movie and the second movie. So it made sense that he, being so tied to the franchise, would be the right director for this movie. The girl Ghostbusters, or 2016 Ghostbusters, whatever you want to call it, had Paul Feig, I believe his name was. I don't know if Ivan Reitman was even involved in that project, but Jason Reitman made sure that he kept the nostalgia there. He kept the spirit of the Ghostbusters there. He didn't want to damage a movie that could potentially, go against what the fans were expecting to see and wanting to see. It's a very tough thing to do, to take a classic movie, and we've seen lots and lots of movies that were flops, that were trying to recreate or reboot or continue on something that has been a cult classic or has just been just a phenomenal movie from the beginning, and trying to expand the world without, making the fans upset. We've seen that with Star Wars. We've seen that with a lot of movies. So, it was really good that they brought in Jason Reitman as the director. So number 4, not calling it Ghostbusters 3. That was, I think, with Ghostbusters 2, it kind of was like, okay, we get it. Back in the day, back in the 80s, a lot of sequels were just called Part 2, Predator 2, Terminator 2. It was just a normal thing. You just tack on a 2 and then tack on a 3. I mean, sometimes they still do it today, but I think they did a good job in actually doing the whole Afterlife kind of thing, or whatever, Ghostbusters Afterlife. Now, they kind of did it with the 2016 female Ghostbusters, where it was kind of like, it had Ghostbusters, and then what was the tagline? Answer the call. So they kind of tried that with that. But I think with this one, not calling it Ghostbusters 3 was a good idea, because it's not necessarily a continuation of the original movie. And of course there was speculation too about whether Ghostbusters 2 actually happened, or did this kind of erase it and say that never happened. Maybe that was a dream, I don't know. Never happened, but let's connect this to, you know, the original movie and just skip over the fact that the second movie ever happened. I'm sure there's people that will argue, no, the second one did happen, things happened in that movie, but there's certain little subtle things that you kind of notice that are vacant, like, you know, Ecto 1 appearing and not Ecto 2. Why would he have Ecto 1 if Ecto 2 was a car? You know, things like that. So, yeah, I think that not calling it Ghostbusters 3 was the right move, and it worked. And now they could expand, and that's something I think they wanted to do from well, at least I think Dan Aykroyd probably wanted to do, was expand the universe. So now you got Ghostbusters Afterlife. Now you can have, like, at the end they kind of hint that the Ghostbusters are back in business. They can start franchising now. They can create Ghostbusters all over the place. So number 3 on my little list here, making Egon the focal point. Well, I don't know if it's the focal point, but he definitely was a big chunk of what the movie was about. And that was one of the things when sadly we lost Harold Ramis in 2014, and a lot of us Ghostbusters fans were like, well, that's it. We'll never see another Ghostbusters film again. Because how could you have Ghostbusters without Egon? I mean, he's one of the, like, my favorite character of the Ghostbusters franchise, and kind of always has been. I've always liked Egon. I think a lot of the people do, like the nerdy guy who just is really the one behind all the technology and the toys and everything. But, you know, the fact is that they tastefully were able to keep him part of the film. And of course, if you watch the movie, which you probably have if you're watching this, you see how it starts off with Egon in his farmhouse. You even kind of experience how he dies, which is kind of a little bit eerie, because it's, you know, they decided that he would be alive in this film at the very beginning anyways, even though Harold Ramis has been gone for several years. And they tastefully were able to do it. It wasn't like they just simply replaced him as an actor and said, okay, you're now Egon. Like there was no speaking rule, so you don't hear his voice. They show sides of his face, they don't show him dead on. You know, a lot of, like, the scene, the way they cut it was like, okay, you can believe that that's kind of the older Egon, and that's, you know, this is how he dies. And then later on, they bring him back as the spirit, which was eerie and kind of emotional at the same time, especially when you see him united with his family, united with the Ghostbusters. I mean, it's kind of like those sad but happy moments, you know. It's happy and funny when the Ghostbusters were standing there all together and Egon was at the end, and every once in a while you'd see one of them just kind of look over at him and be like, you know, oh my goodness, there's the ghost of Egon with us. And so it was that, but then when he was with his granddaughter and with his daughter and everything, and it was reuniting, it was emotional. In fact, when I was watching it, I was totally thinking, you know, he was going to get sucked into the trap with the rest of the other ghosts, and that was going to be the end of him. We weren't going to see him again, but no, they didn't do that. Which makes me wonder why. I mean, if all the other ghosts got sucked into those mega traps everywhere, how come he didn't get pulled in? But anyways, I guess they wanted to keep him alive. They didn't want to, well, undead. I don't know, a ghost. But, okay, so number 2 on my list, passing the torch. Now, this is kind of what we wanted. This is sort of what we wanted in, you know, at the time when they could have pulled a Ghostbusters 3 off with the original cast before Harold Ramis passed away. We could have had a Ghostbusters passing of the torch where the 4 of them kind of come back and there has to be a reason why they come back. The ghosts have to reappear or whatever, and passing it on to a new generation. This is kind of what I was saying with the female Ghostbusters. I think that's what people wanted. You know, you could have had them all female. That's fine. Pass the torch on to an all-female Ghostbuster, but keep the originals alive. Keep the original going. Keep the storyline going. Don't just kill it off like that and just say, let's start again with a whole new cast. I think it would have failed regardless of, you know, if they put 4 different men in the it had nothing to do with that. It was the fact that they didn't pass the torch. And I think doing this, they kind of, not only did they pass the torch, but they still are existing in their own format as the Ghostbusters. And you see that in the end when they're driving back to New York in the Ecto-1, and it's like, you know, the Ghostbusters are back, baby. But the question is there going to be ghosts? Is there going to be more stuff to catch now that Gozer is gone? Well, sort of gone. So, the number one thing on my list is exactly what I just said. Gozer. Bringing back Gozer. This ties everything back to the first movie. And I think it was brilliant the way they did that. You know, they could have created a whole new entity, you know, just like Ghostbusters 2 with Vigo. They could have just created a whole new villain and just kind of gone all off on that. No, they wanted to tie it back to the original, and it was brilliant the way they did it, because Egon himself, who I guess, you know, they kind of explained through the movie that they thought he was going nuts, but he was actually, you know, realizing that that Ivo Shandor, which they talk about in the first movie, is still planning crap that's going to happen, and Gozer's going to come back, or the end of the world. You know, like, he's still babbling on about that stuff, and the rest of them are like literally like, we're done, we're retiring, we're you know, Ghostbusters are through. And so Egon takes it upon himself to move into this farm, and it's not really a farm, it's more of a big, huge ghost trap to stop this end of the world thing. And so bringing back Gozer, well, of course they brought back the little marshmallow man too, but I think that was just a little fun thing they threw in there. But making Gozer, you know, the final kind of comeback, something they didn't, you know, I think one of the problems with the first Ghostbusters movie is you don't really know who this Gozer is, and she kind of appears very at the end, and then they just, boom, gone. Unlike, say, part 2, where Vigo, you get hold of the whole backstory. He's more prominent throughout the movie. You get to know him as the villain. Gozer just kind of like shows up. They cross the stream, she's gone. So it was great to see more of that character, and just the way it tied back and you know, Egon's purpose. And it kind of ends the story in a way where, okay, now we've finally got rid of Gozer for hopefully the last time. And this will allow the departure from that kind of, you know, continuing on the story to create a new story going forward with the new Ghostbusters. And of course that will be the children. Whether the old cast will still reprise their roles in future films, if they decide to do so. If they make the future films, we're going to have to wait and see. But I thought that was a brilliant mix, you know, just tying it back to the first movie, making it the same villain, having the gatekeeper, the keymaster. Of course, we didn't have Sigourney Weaver and Rick Moranis as those two characters, but they don't need to be, because they're basically possessing any human hosts, so it really doesn't matter who. And of course, at the very end, there's the credit rolling and stuff, and you see Sigourney Weaver's back, and unfortunately, I don't think Rick Moranis is acting anymore, so we're not really gonna, who knows, maybe he'll change his mind and appear in a future film, whatever. But yeah, I mean, those were my 5, just my thoughts as I was watching the movie. I thought it'd be fun to do a video like this, just talking about it, and if you agree, or if you have any of your own ideas, I'd like to hear them. Throw them down there in the comments below of what you thought were great moments, or maybe if you didn't like the film, what was it about it you didn't like? I'd always like to hear it. Anyways, hope you liked the video, hope you subscribe, talk to you later.